Good day, children. I hope you all have studied the lesson, you have read the lesson, and whatever question answers and the summary that I had given you all, I think you have gone through all those. So here, today we are going to do the revision about the last lesson, and this was about the Franco-Prussian War that was going on, and that time France was defeated by Prussia, and Prussia was the nation of Germany, Poland and parts of Austria. In this story, French district of Alsace and Lorraine have passed into Prussian hands. Now we'll read the story further and we'll see what is there. The narrator says, I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of scolding, especially because M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles and I did not know the first word about them. So here the narrator is saying that he was very much afraid of his teacher because he had given him the question on participles. He was going to ask him questions about it and he had not read it. For a moment of thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. So some of you bunked the school in the same way this fellow also started, thinking that it's better to remain outside, not to go to school. It was so warm, so bright, the birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field of sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling. And outside it was very much attractive. He could hear the chirping of the birds, and behind the sawmill, Prussian soldiers were doing the drill. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles. But I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. So one side he wanted to bunk the school, the other he wanted to go to school. So he decided to hurry off to the school. And while he was passing through the town hall, he saw a big crowd in front of the bulletin board. Bulletin board is the notice board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer, and I thought of myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? Now the people were crowded over there because all the news of the war, losing of the battle, and all the other orders of the commanding officer, it was coming there. So first he wanted to stop there and to ask what was the matter over there, but then he hurried away from there. So he did not wait, he started walking fast, and while he was walking fast, a blacksmith, he saw him and he said, why you are going so fast? Don't worry, you have got plenty of time and you'll reach the school in time. I thought he was making fun of me and reached M. Hamel's little garden all out of breath, and still he started walking further and he was running fast, he was walking fast, and when he reached the garden of the school, he was out of breath, means he was panting. Usually when school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street, the opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison, very loud, with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. And whenever he used to go to school every day, he heard the opening and closing of the desk, means hustle and bustle that was going on in the school as you listen in the school what goes on, and the children repeating the lessons together loudly, and so loud they used to speak that he had to put his hands over his ears, and the teacher rapping the ruler on the table. But now it was all so still. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen, but of course that day everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. And he was already late to school and he was thinking how he'll go and sit in his place without the teacher seeing him. But everything was quiet as Sunday. There was no noise coming out in the school. Through the window I saw my classmates already in their places and M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. And then he saw from the window, he peeped in and he saw that his classmates, they were sitting there in their places, and the teacher, M. Hamill, he was walking up and down the room, and the ruler was as usual under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. Now everybody was sitting and he was late, and he had to go inside in front of everyone, and he knew that he is going to get scolding. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. And when he entered late, he was blushing and he was very much afraid also. Blushing means his cheeks were getting red. But nothing happened. M. Hamill saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little friends. We were beginning without you." But the teacher, he looked at him and very politely he said to him, "Never mind, come and sit in your place quickly. And we were going to begin the lessons without you." I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat. And after getting towards his bench and sitting on his desk, and when his fright went away from him, he saw his teacher. The teacher was wearing the green coat with a frilled shirt and the little black silk cap that was embroidered. And this dress he used to wear during the occasion times, either during the inspection time or during the annual function or the prize distribution days. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn, but the thing that surprised me most was to see the back benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves, old Hosser with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor of the former postmaster, the several other besides. And to his surprise, he saw on the last bench the people, the honorable people were sitting there. Old Hosser was there, then the former mayor, former postmaster, and many people likewise. Everybody looked sad, and Hosser had brought an old primer, thumbed at the edge, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. And the old Hosser, he has brought the KG book, and it was open on his knees and he was looking at them. While I was wondering about it all, M. Hamill mounted his chair, and while his friends, he was wondering why all these people are sitting over here, the teacher, he got over his chair and he started to speak. In the grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you." And he said to the people sitting in the class that it was the last lesson that he was going to give that day. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Elsass and Lorraine, because the order had come from Berlin that from the next day German was going to be taught, and the new master was going to come the next day, and no more teaching would continue of French language. So he wanted everybody to be attentive and listen to the last French lesson that he was going to give. What a thunderclap these words were to me, and he was very much surprised and he was very much taken aback. Oh, the wretches, that was what they had put up at the town hall. Then he understood that this news was only there on the board. At my last French lesson, why, I hardly knew how to write. I could never learn anymore, and he was feeling very sorry because he was not able to write French language, and he knew that from the next day he won't be able to learn also. I must stop there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs and going sliding on the sand. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar, my history of saints, were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And then he felt very sorry because instead of learning in school, He used to go out searching for birds' eggs, and his books, they seemed to be nuisance to him, and the grammar book, the history book, everything, they were now his old friends because they were of no use anymore. And M. Hamel too, the idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. And the idea that M. Hamel, the teacher, whom he did not like before, now he felt very bad. From the next day he won't be able to see him, and his ruler, everything, whatever he did, whatever he scolded him, however he scolded him, he felt very sorry about him. Poor man, it was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on the fine Sunday clothes, and now I understood why the old men in village were sitting there in the back of the room. And then friends realized why M. Hamel was wearing fine Sunday clothes, the fine clothes that he wore on occasions, and the old men of the village, why they were sitting there. It was because they were sorry that they had not gone to school more. It was their way of thanking our master for their 40 years of faithful service. And M. Hamel had been teaching in that school for the past 40 years, and they had come over there to thank the master for showing their respect for the country, and that there's no more. And from the next day when German was going to be taught, so according to them the country was not anymore for them. While I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. When he was engrossed in his thoughts, the teacher called out his name, and it was his turn to recite. Now he got up, and when the teacher asked him to recite about the participles, so he started very loud and clear, and without one mistake. He did not do any mistake. But later on he got mixed up in the first words and stood there, holding on to my desk, my heart beating and not daring to look up. And when he got mixed up, he was not able to speak anymore. His heart was beating very badly because he thought that he was going to get scolding. I heard M. Hamel say to me, "I won't scold you, little friends. You must feel bad enough. See how is it every day we have said to ourselves." So the teacher said to him, "Okay, I'm not going to scold you. You shouldn't feel bad, because every day we said to ourselves that we have got plenty of time. As you all say, when you are asked to study, you all say that we have got plenty of time. Tomorrow we'll start the studies, tomorrow we'll start the study." This way you keep on going, saying, but in the end you regret that the time has gone and you have not studied anymore. I'll learn it tomorrow. So you also do the same thing. Now you see where we have come out. Now you can understand where we are standing. That's the great trouble with Hellas. She puts off learning till tomorrow. So the people of Hellas, they think that they will study tomorrow. They keep on postponing the time and all. Now those fellow out there will have the right to say to you, "How is it you pretend to be Frenchman?" Now the people who are going to rule you, who are going to teach you German, they will ask you, "What kind of Frenchman you are?" Because you are not able to speak, neither you are able to write your own language. But you are not the worst, poor little friends. We have all a great deal to reproach ourselves with. So he said, "You are not a worse person, friends. All of us are of the same kind. Your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. Your parents also didn't pay attention. They used to send you to the farm to work, to earn money. And I have been to blame also, and I am also to be blamed, because I used to send you out to water my plants instead of your learning the lessons. And when I wanted to go fishing, I not just give you a holiday. And whenever I wanted to go fishing with my friends, I always gave you a holiday." Then from one thing to another, Emil went on to talk of the French language. And then he started talking to the people and saying that French was a beautiful language in the world, and is the clearest and the most logical language. and we have to guard it. Because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. And when we have got control or the command over our language, then we think that we have got the key to the prison. Then M. Hamel opened his grammar book and he started reading lesson for us. And the narrator, friends, he was very much surprised to see how well he understood everything. All he said seemed so easy, I think too, that I have never listened so carefully and that he had never explained everything with so much patience. And this time he understood each and every word what he spoke. And to him it seemed as if he explained it very nicely and with patience. It seemed almost if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away and to put it all into our heads at one stroke. And to friends it seemed as if M. Hamel wanted to put all the knowledge in our minds within one stroke only. After the grammar we had a lesson of writing. That day M. Hamel had new copies for us, written in a beautiful round hand, France, alas, Alsace. They looked like little flags floating everywhere in the schoolroom, hung from the rod at the top of a desk. And the new copies were there in that France, Alsace was written beautifully, and it seemed as if the flags were floating on top of the desk, and you ought to have seen how everyone set to work and how quiet it was, and everybody with great devotion and dedication they started doing their work. The only sound was the scratching of the pens over the paper. Once some beetles flew in, but nobody paid attention on them, not even the littlest one who worked right on tracing their fish hooks, as if that was French too. And everybody started working. They were not distracted even when the beetle came inside. Even the small children, they were not distracted. On the roof the pigeons were cooing, and the narrator, he thought to himself, will the Germans be able to make the pigeons also speak in German? Whenever I looked up from my writing, I saw M. Hamel sitting motionless in his chair and gazing first at one thing, then at another, and as if he wanted to fix his mind just how everything looked in that little schoolroom. And whenever the narrator, friends, he looked at his teacher, he found him gazing at one thing or the other, as if he wanted to capture everything in his mind. Fancy, for 40 years he had been there in the same place. He had been working in that place for past 40 years, with his garden outside the window and his class in front of him. And the garden was there outside and the class, just like that. Only the desks and benches had been worn. In the beginning, the desks and benches were fine, but as the time passed, the benches and desks, they got worn out. The walnut trees in the garden were taller. The hope vine had also, that he had planted himself, twined about the windows to the roof. And the garden in which he had planted walnuts, they had grown up. Hope vine, that has also twined towards the roof also. How it must have broken his heart to leave it all. So whatever he had done for the school, he had to leave everything and go. How broken his heart must have been. To hear his sister moving about in the room above, packing their trunks, for they must leave the country next day. And upstairs, his sister was doing the packing, and the dragging of the trunk and the things could be heard, and they had to leave that country the next day. But he had the courage to hear every lesson to the very last. After the writing, we had the lesson in history, and after writing lesson, the history was there. Down there at the back of the room, little Horse had put on his spectacles and holding his primer in both hands, spelled the letters with them. and the small children, they were repeating the words, they were spelling the letters, and the old Hauser, he was also repeating the words. You can see that he too was crying, his voice trembled with emotion, and it was so funny to hear him that we all wanted to laugh and cry. And that fellow, old Hauser, his voice was trembling with emotion, because he was also crying. And the people sitting over there, they felt like laughing and crying both. How well I remember it, that last lesson. And friend says that it was the last lesson and he was very much wanted to remember it. And he learnt it very nicely. All at once the church clock struck 12. That very moment, the church clock struck 12, it was 12 o'clock. And the moment the trumpets of Prussians returning from the drill started sounding, M. Hamel stood up and he was feeling very pale. The color of his face was gone, and he stood up in his chair and friends, he said. And then after that something choked his throat. He turned towards the blackboard, took a piece of chalk, and then he wrote Vive la France. After that he stopped, leaned his head against the wall, and without a word he made a gesture, and he told the students to go out because the school was dismissed. He did not speak anything, but with his hands he gave a gesture that the school was dismissed. So this is the lesson, children, and I think this is the easiest lesson of this class 12. After that, slowly the tough lessons will be coming, and I hope from the very beginning you are going to study all this. You will not take it lightly, because now it's your final and the board class is there. So all the best, children. Good luck and good day.